Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of The Great Ruler Season 2 Part 23 based on novel. So let's start. On the two giant peaks, Shen Sangshan and Li Xiantong respectively look towards Linzheng and Zhu Qingshan. As of now, the expressions on their faces were undeniably much more relaxed than before, stemming from their self-confidence. Although Linzheng and Zhu Qingshan weren't so easy to deal with that even Shen Sangshan and Li Xiantong were not daring to even say they were absolutely able to defeat them. To them, achieving a draw in such a fight wasn't something difficult. Of the three fights, Mu Chen had already won one. Even if they were to both draw or lose one fight, in the end, they would still achieve victory. Naturally, losing one match was something that they would obviously not do. In front of them, Mu Chen had become so miserable just to achieve a win. If they were to lose, they would truly be unable to explain themselves in front of all the students. Looking at each other in the eyes, Linzheng and Zhu Qingshan both gave helpless laughs. They never imagined that the final checkpoint would come to such a stage. In the surroundings of the spiritual light mountain, the cheering sounds that had lasted for quite a while gradually grew softer as everyone looked excitedly at the confrontations happening on the other two giant peaks. With the advantage on their side, after Mu Chen's victory, they had already seemingly won half of the final fight. As long as no aberrations happened during Shen Sangshan and Li Xiantong's fight, victory would definitely be theirs. Looking at the scene before him, Mu Chen finally relaxed his body completely. What happened after this was already none of his concern. He had already done what he was able to do, and he had completely achieved his goal. Upon completely relaxing, the weakness of his body instantly surfaced from the depths, causing him to stagger and stumble. Suddenly, a clear and beautiful fragrance blossomed from behind him as Luo Li appeared beside him. Without any scruples on the blood that covered his entire body, her white and slender hands supported Mu Chen's body, before resting him on her lovable body. As Luo Li supported Mu Chen, she looked at the heart-wrenching injuries present on his body. These were all caused by the Black Lightning's energy, causing them to look extremely horrifying. For the sake of enduring such power, Mu Chen had shouldered an extreme amount of pain and suffering. "Are you all right?" asked Luo Li softly, concern flashing within her clear and limpid eyes. Although she was not willing to have Mu Chen engage in such life-threatening fights and earnestly wished to help him, she knew that she couldn't interfere in these kinds of matters. It wasn't a question of the dignity of a male, but a responsibility. This was the responsibility that Mu Chen had embraced, and he needed to face it by himself. Similarly, he would not wish for anyone to interfere and take action, including her. Smiling, Mu Chen extended his hand to embrace Luo Li's slender waist, with his body seemingly pasted on her soft and delicate body. At this moment, his body would faintly tremble from time to time, originating from the intense pain radiating from within his body. These tremors were extremely minute, causing others to be unable to discover them. Luo Li was only able to feel them when he rested on her, causing her to feel even more concern for him. "Everything that happens from now is of no concern to me," said Mu Chen while looking at the two giant peaks in the distance. Regardless of the results of the final fights, he was unable to interfere at all. "You've already completed the most important part. There shouldn't be much more suspense in the following two fights," Luo Li said with a slight smile as she continued, "Congratulations. As of now, you've truly become an influential character at the peak of the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy." "I don't care about such things," replied Mu Chen as he stared at Luo Li's beautiful and exquisite face, before continuing to say slowly, "For me, you came to the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy. This has already consumed your training time. Although I've done nothing about this, I can at least do my utmost to reduce your losses. I don't care about other people getting their spiritual light empowerment, however, that's something that you definitely need to have." Hearing his words, Luo Li gawked. Looking at the youth, although he had some bloodstains on his face, it was still as handsome and dashing. A slightly acidic feeling rose on her small nose. "Was this the reason why you would risk your life? I don't think that I've lost anything. On the contrary, during these past few years, especially the time within the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy, I've never felt more happiness in my entire life," said Luo Li gently as a gentle and beautiful smile blossomed on her face. Hearing her words, Mu Chen smiled as the arm wrapped around Luo Li's waist slowly grew tighter, seemingly as though he wanted to sink her into his body. As Mu Chen continued to enjoy the gentle and fragrant embrace under the gazes of countless people, Shen Sangshan and Li Xiantong slowly took a step forward on the two giant peaks. Bang! Boundless spiritual energy shot through the skies as the pressure coming from the two strong spiritual energies flooded out. Instantly, the entire stretch of the sky was enveloped under the spiritual energy fluctuations radiating from the two. Obviously, Shen Sangshan and Li Xiantong had already prepared to use their full strength in their fights. Contrary to expectations, facing the strong spiritual energy pressing down on them, the expressions on Lin Jing and Zhu Qingshan still remained calm and unchanged. Senior brother Lin Jing. Senior brother Qingshan. Cupping their hands at the same time, both Shen Sangshan and Li Xiantong roared in a low voice, "Please give your guidance." Bang! As they roared, the expression within the eyes of the two instantly became fierce and sharp. Stomping their feet on the ground, their figures instantly shot out as the spiritual energy that hit the skies and blotted the earth rapidly converged together. Looking at the two shooting towards them with fierce fighting intent erupting from them, Lin Jing and Zhu Qingshan shot a look at each other. After helplessly shrugging their shoulders, they made a move. Unexpectedly, out of everyone's expectations, they had taken a step back. Facing the attacks of Shen Sangshan and Li Xiantong, they had unexpectedly retreated. Clamoring noises instantly resounded across the world. Although Shen Sangshan and Li Xiantong were strong, they were obviously incapable of scaring Lin Jing and Zhu Qingshan away. Feeling somewhat shocked, Shen Sangshan and Li Xiantong both halted in their steps. Looking at the two who had retreated and unable to detect the faintest traces of fighting intent from them, they started to wrinkle their brows, obviously unable to understand their intent. Facing the doubtful stares coming their way, Lin Jing gave a helpless smile and said, "There's no need to continue fighting. For this last checkpoint, let's consider it your win," said Zhu Qingshan while shrugging his shoulders. Upon hearing their replies, both Shen Sangshan and Li Xiantong gawked, something which was replicated by all of the students around the spiritual light mountain. A split second later, furious sounds of cheering that shook the skies erupted out. Lin Jing and Zhu Qingshan had actually admitted defeat on their own accord. That would mean that they have passed through the last checkpoint. All of them would obtain their spiritual light empowerment. Their years' worth of bitter training wasn't wasted. They've given up, huh? Mu Chen also felt somewhat shocked. However, it was too much of a surprise for him. Lin Jing and Zhu Qingshan were obviously not weak. However, Shen Sangshan and Li Xiantong were not the slightest bit weaker than them. Even if the former two were to utilize all of their cards, they might only be able to achieve an evenly matched situation. However, this kind of result would already be unable to create the slightest bit of change in the entire situation. Of the three fights, Mu Chen had won his, while Shen Sangshan and Li Xiantong had both achieved draws. Therefore, once this result was out, it was already unable to be changed. Since that was the case, there was simply no point for this confrontation to continue. However, Lin Jing and Zhu Qingshan's straightforwardness was something that made Mu Chen feel slightly intrigued. He had assumed that they would cross hands for at least an exchange before choosing to give up on the fight. He never imagined that the fight would be over before it even began. Obviously, both Shen Sangshan and Li Xiantong were having the same thoughts as Mu Chen, since their jaws were slightly hanging down. Not only did everyone have a feeling that they had no choice but to withdraw due to this unexpected turn of events, it truly made people fall into a bad mood. They were originally planning to enjoy the fights to their heart's content. However, they never thought that Lin Jing and Zhu Qingshan would not give them such a chance. "So, this ends like that, said Shen Sangshan as he restrained the boundless spiritual energy radiating from him. Hearing those words, Lin Jing smiled in acknowledgement. With a flick of his finger, a ray of spiritual energy shot towards the sky, before exploding in midair. In the next moment, as the surrounding space started to faintly distort, two old figures slowly appeared from within. Upon them appearing, a hoarse voice rang out, "Since Lin Jing and Zhu Qingshan have given up, the victors for the final fight goes to the side of the students. According to the rules, all of the students will be able to obtain the chance of spiritual light empowerment." Hearing the final verdict of the two elders, countless students reacted instantly by emotionally cheering out loud. Waiting for the cheering voices to gradually decline, the two elders turned towards Mu Chen, Shen Sangsheng, and Li Xiantong and said, "You three have achieved victory in the final fights, therefore, you three will get your deserved rewards." One of the elders waved his sleeve, causing 3 bright and resplendent rays of light to shoot out, before transforming into 3 clumps of light in front of them. Within the clumps of light, one was able to see approximately 3 meters tall clear and sparkling spirit crystals. There seemed to be liquid slowly flowing within them, and they radiated with extremely strong and pure spiritual energy fluctuations. These were spirit crystals of Spirit King level. Furthermore, from the thickness of the spiritual energy present, it was clearly much stronger than the spirit crystal that Mu Chen had obtained from killing the Spirit King from before. The spiritual light empowerment the 3 of you will receive is different from the rest of the students. After 3 days, head to the punishment hall. There will be elders there who will personally take action to help with your spiritual light empowerment, said one of the elders with a smile. Hearing the elders' words, the students in the surroundings were casting envious gazes towards them. However, all of them knew that this was something that Mu Chen and the other 2 deserved. Without them, all of the people there would have already lost their qualifications to undergo the spiritual light empowerment. Looking at the clear and sparkling spirit crystal in front of him, Mu Chen faintly hesitated, before asking, "Elders, would it be possible to transfer such a spiritual light empowerment to another person?" Upon hearing Mu Chen's question, Luo Li's beautiful face faintly changed, before instantly being suppressed by Mu Chen's glare. The 2 elders had also gawked upon hearing his question, before they turned and shot a look at Mu Chen and Luo Li. From the looks of it, they seemed to have some inkling of understanding, since they replied with a faint smile, "It's not only you 3 that are entitled to such a special spiritual light empowerment. There's another criteria that can be fulfilled to obtain it, which is to obtain a complete spirit crystal of the Spirit King. Only when one has one of these would this criteria be fulfilled." With a thought, he immediately brought out his half of the spirit crystal of the Spirit King out. Luo Li had also fished her half out. Placing the 2 halves together, they seamlessly fused together. Extending her jade-like hands, Luo Li received the completed spirit crystal. With the gentle light radiating from it, it caused her youthful and absolutely beautiful face to appear exceptionally soul-stirring. "Elders, would this be all right?" Mu Chen asked with a smile. Mu Chen, for the spiritual light empowerment, the more spirit crystals, the greater its effect. Seeing Mu Chen handing over half of a spirit crystal to Luo Li without the slightest hint of hesitation, the 2 elders could not help feeling slightly surprised before speaking their thoughts. Mu Chen declined to comment on their words. Although the spiritual light empowerment was admittedly important, in his eyes, it was clearly not the slightest bit as important as Luo Li. Tugging her slender and jade-like hand against Mu Chen's palm, a gentle ripple undulated within Luo Li's clear and limpid eyes as she stared at him. After seeing Mu Chen's determination, the 2 elders did not continue to say any more. Retracting their gazes, a strong and vigorous voice resounded in the ears of every single student. "Since the results of the final fight are known, I will now announce that this hunt is officially over." As the last of his words rang out, countless rays of bright and resplendent light erupted erratically from the horizon. As they shot out, everyone was enveloped under their light. Under the envelopment of the light, Mu Chen unfurled his hands and looked towards the expansive space before him. Instantly exhaling a deep breath of relief, he was finally able to exit from there. In the air above the northern square, countless students raised their heads to look at the gradually dissipating gigantic light screen. Remnants of excitement and a myriad of emotions replayed in their minds as they stared at it. The fight between Mu Chen and Jiyu Qianyang had truly made people gasp in amazement. In fact, the final result was something that everyone still found hard to imagine. With a status as a freshman, unexpectedly, Mu Chen was able to achieve a victory, which directly resulted in the quick ending of the final battles. Countless people were still sighing in admiration over this. For the past few years, it could be said that there were quite a few talents that had come out from the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy. However, there were extremely few people who were able to get a result similar to Mu Chen's. Achieving such dazzling results with the status of a freshman made everyone sigh in admiration. There was one thing that they knew: from now, Mu Chen's prestige in the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy might not be any weaker to Shen Sangshan and Li Xiantong. By relying on a single fight to reach the position of a peak influential figure, perhaps there might be no one that would dare to have a single shred of doubt against him anymore. While countless students were still sighing in admiration, the space in the sky suddenly distorted, before countless figures hid the skies and covered the earth as they shot out from within. They were covered by a thick layer of light, which was radiating with rather astonishing spiritual energy fluctuations. As those figures appeared, not the slightest hint of stopping was discovered on them as they shot across the horizon akin to streaks of light, and flew in every direction. As of now, all of them needed to find a place to train, and absorb all of the vigorous spiritual energy that had flooded their bodies due to the spiritual light empowerment. Upon completing this stage, their strength would have greatly increased. Envious gazes came shooting over towards the locust swarm-like figures from the many students present on the northern square. Naturally, everyone knew after these people had to completely refine the spiritual energy granted to them by the spiritual light empowerment, so that their strength would have a substantial increase. At this point, the total strength of the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy might rise to a new level. As figures continued to blot the skies as they shot out of the distorted space, the figures shot out without any rush or hurry. Stopping in the air, they immediately attracted the gazes of countless people. It's Mu Chen, Shen Sangshan, and the rest. Huh? Why aren't they covered by the spiritual light empowerment? Someone voiced out in doubt, as Mu Chen and the other three didn't have any light radiating from their bodies, and their internal spiritual energy levels weren't overly boundless. Are you stupid? The four of them are the most outstanding people in this hunt. How could they just obtain some normal spiritual light empowerment? There are grades for the spiritual light empowerment, asked a freshman in doubt. That's for sure. Normal spiritual light empowerment would happen the instant one leaves the spiritual light world. The spiritual light that one obtains would automatically transform into spiritual energy and enter their body. Although this kind of spiritual energy is pure, a large portion of it would be lost during the absorption process. In the end, isn't the amount that would be refined and absorbed be more than 50 to 60%? However, the spiritual light empowerment Mu Chen and the other three are going to receive is different. It's said that the elders of the academy would assist in their empowerment. This kind of treatment isn't something a normal spiritual light empowerment would be able to compare with. I see. As he appeared in midair, Mu Chen looked towards the sea of humans that filled the sky. Upon seeing the northern square, he took another breath of relief. Truly, the air of the outside world made people feel more relaxed. Although the spiritual energy within the spiritual light word was more vigorous, Mu Chen had truly felt that there was just something missing. The four of you should head back and rest. After 3 days, come to the punishment hall for your spiritual light empowerment. Also appearing in the sky, the two elders turned towards Mu Chen and the other three before speaking out instructions. Yes. Hearing those instructions, Mu Chen and the other three nodded their heads in acknowledgement. Mu Chen, you're the only one that had a tough battle. Go take a rest before meeting up at the punishment hall 3 days from now, said Shen Sangshan while sending a smile towards Mu Chen. The latter's fight had truly exceeded the expectations of the people. Originally, he had assumed that he and Li Xiantong would need to engage in an intense fight. However, who would have thought that the one that suffered the most was Mu Chen? As for the both of them, they had ended their fights by simply revealing their faces. Replying to Shen Sangshan, Mu Chen could only present a smile. As of now, his face was extremely pale, and he was truly exceptionally weak and frail. The acute pain radiating from within his body caused even difficulty for him to speak. Right now, his strongest wish was to head back and immediately take a rest. I'll bring him back first. Seeing Mu Chen's miserable state, Luo Li felt some pain in her heart. Carrying Mu Chen, she said a soft word or two towards Shen Sangshan and Li Xiantong, before rapidly streaking away in a ray of light. Looking at the figures of the two as they head towards the distance, Li Xiantong fell somewhat into a daze with a complication expression displayed on his face. So, you like her, huh? Beside him, Shen Sangshan's eyes had become slits as he grinned, while asking Li Xiantong. He was able to see that Li Xiantong was paying a lot of attention to Luo Li. In response, Li Xiantong only gave a bitter laugh. However, from the lovey-dovey actions of those two, I think that you don't stand a chance, said Shen Songsheng with a little sympathy. The girl by the name of Luo Li truly was very outstanding. However, her eyes had always been focused on Mu Chen. Even the two of them were able to see that Mu Chen and Luo Li had already fallen into the webs of love. Li Xiantong shot a cold glare at Shen Songsheng. This fellow, he just likes to do stuff that pours salt into other people's wounds. Forget about it. Why bother hanging oneself to death on a tree? After receiving our spiritual light empowerment, let's give the bounty of killing Mo Longzi a try. This time, let's collaborate and settle things with that guy once and for all. Shen Songsheng patted on Li Xuantong's shoulder, before a cold glint flashed within his eyes as he said, I'm afraid that the number of our Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy students that have died while going out for outworld training in the past 2 years by Mo Longzi's hands has already reached the triple digits. Hearing his words, Li Xuantong's forehead started to wrinkle. A cold glint also flashed within his eyes as he said in a soft voice, it's said that the demonic dragon palace is getting more rampant in the Northern Heavens continent. Let the deans and elders care able those headache-inducing matters. Soldiers should be faced against soldiers. The old dog of the demonic dragon palace should naturally be stared at by the higher levels of our academy. However, as for that thing called Mo Longzi, he should be dealt with by us. If not, people might say that we Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy students are useless, replied Shen Songsheng casually. How do we go about it? Form a team and hunt him? Muttering to himself, Li Xiantong faintly nodded his head and said, let's collaborate for this time. That Mo Longzi should be killed. Ha ha, that's good. With a loud chuckle, Shen Songsheng patted Li Xuantong's shoulder. Without saying anything else, his figure shot towards the depths of the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy. Upon seeing this, Li Xiantong started to head towards the mountain peak that he lived on. As the crowd of people in the sky started to scatter, the countless students at the northern square started to leave with somewhat dissatisfied hearts. Looking towards the direction of the heavenly rankings, all of them knew that in a short couple of days, there might be an earth-shattering upheaval displayed on it. At this time, Mu Chen and Luo Li had already reached their small building in the freshman area. Upon entering the house, Mu Chen's already pale face grew even more white, while a mouth of blood spewed uncontrollably out of his mouth. In this fight, the true injuries weren't caused by Jiyu Chenyang, but the divine black lightning's overly terrifying energy wreaking havoc within his body. This kind of energy was something that Mu Chen's current body was simply unable to control and unleash. Fortunately, he had learnt and practiced the lightning god's physique, causing his fleshly body to become stronger. If not, he might have had to deal with an exceedingly high cost to his life upon his usage of the divine black lightning. Looking at the seriousness of Mu Chen's injuries, Luo Li's beautiful face started to faintly change, as she hurriedly carried him into the room. Resting on the bed, Mu Chen weakly gestured to her. It's all right. The energy's already simmered down. I just have to rest and I will be all right. You really pushed your luck too much, said Luo Li, while getting slightly angry. To her, Mu Chen had simply caused all of these troubles for himself. The divine black lightning was something that would bring dread to even a strong spiritual beast like the Nine Netherbird. She never expected that Mu Chen would actually dare to cause it to erupt within his body. This kind of action was something that would instantly cause one's death, without a doubt. It was still not convenient to say it while they were outside. However, after they returned, she was finally unable to control her concern and anger. Even without the spiritual light empowerment, I won't lose anything. Furthermore, I've not come all those thousands of miles to the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy just to see you compensate me, said Luo Li while biting her lip. Looking at the girl who was truly feeling a little angry, Mu Chen could not help lowering his head. Extending his hand, he attempted to grab hold of Luo Li's slender and jade-like hands. However, his hand was evaded by the girl, whose eyes had now turned slightly red. With a smile, Mu Chen sent his palm out to grab again, and tightly held onto the girl's little hand, without letting her go. With a pull, he sent the girl lunging into his bosom. Faintly struggling in Mu Chen's bosom, the gorgeous girl tried to get out. Unable to do so, she gave a soft snort, before tilting her lovable face away, indicating her intent of not wanting to easily forgive Mu Chen's nonsensical behavior. With a grin, Mu Chen looked towards the gorgeously beautiful face that was now filled with a little anger and indignation. As Luo Li lowered her head amidst the panic she felt, without waiting for the girl to put up any resistance, her red lips were already in contact with his. The girl used her little hands to gently pound on Mu Chen's chest, before her lovable body finally turned soft like spring water. As she did so, her silvery hair spread out, covering the entire bed. After kissing for a long time, Mu Chen was still someone not willing to let go of those tender red lips. As he lowered his head to look at the blushing red face of the girl, he said in a gentle voice with a faint smile, "I'm sorry for making you worry. Yeah, I'm not trying to compensate you in any way. I just feel that, if I'm unable to even clear this obstacle on my own, in the future, how should I protect you?" A faint tremor shook through Luo Li's body as she looked at Mu Chen's eyes, which were brimming with gentle emotions for her, causing her emotions to slowly turn relaxed. "I've risked my life to win back the spiritual light empowerment and you're still angry with me. Shouldn't you give me some kind of compensation?" asked Mu Chen with a grin. "What kind of compensation?" Noticing Mu Chen's gaze, Luo Li felt somewhat unsafe, and wriggled her lower body. With a smirk, Mu Chen's palm quietly slid down, passing through her soft clothing, touching the tender and delicate skin that was cool and akin to jade. Luo Li's lovable body instantly turned stiff as her beautiful face turned even redder. Shock and fluster akin to a skitter of a little deer could be seen within her clear and limpid eyes. As Mu Chen's hand slipped into Luo Li's blouse, they grasped hold of that little waist. Unable to bear it anymore, Luo Li was about to shove him away. However, she discovered that Mu Chen's actions had stopped. Faintly tilting her head over, she realized that Mu Chen had unknowingly pressed lightly on her body. As of now, his eyes were tightly closed, while his breathing was weak and feeble. He had unexpectedly fallen asleep at this moment due to the stress and tiredness he had sustained earlier. This made Luo Li feel like crying and smiling at the same time. After hesitating a while, she extended her jade-like arms and wrapped Mu Chen into her embrace. Gently kissing the youth's lips, gentle feelings flooded her eyes as she looked at the youth's handsome face. While gently rubbing Mu Chen's forehead with her little hands, she muttered, "Mu Chen, rest assured. I won't let anyone hurt you, I'll protect you, too." The punishment hall sat within the inner region of the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy. Within the entire academy, it held an extremely high status, as well as power, as the absolutely large question of the safety and guarding of the entire Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy was under its control. The majority of the punishment hall members were students of the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy that had already graduated, but chose to stay behind. With each successive batch, they provided an unceasing supply of fresh blood into the punishment hall. Naturally, once one entered the punishment hall, one could no longer be called a student and could no longer participate in the various competitions between students. Therefore, most students would generally find it extremely difficult to see the members of the punishment hall on most occasions within the academy. Similarly, once one became a member of the punishment hall, the tasks one was sent out on would have a higher increase of danger. This place wasn't some ivory tower, as the various rules and regulations implemented here were obviously even more strict and severe. After all, the punishment hall was constructed for the sake of the protection of the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy. The enemies they faced were no longer the students and seniors that were comparing notes, but the various evil powers that were clearly presented or hidden in obscurity within the Northern Heavens continent. Compared to the gentle academy, the interior of the punishment hall clearly had an extra iron-blooded taste with a cold and strict feeling. There wasn't any of the luscious and vibrant atmosphere of vitality of the outside present within the inner region of the academy. Even the sky appeared to be darker and more overcast. A giant hall that looked different from the rest of the surroundings stood erect on top of a mountain peak. Within the air, there would be groups of people in armor darting in and out, from time to time. As they moved along, fluctuations of killing intent could be felt within the air. This kind of imposing aura was absolutely not something that the students within the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy could compare with. Upon seeing this with their eyes, both Mu Chen and Luo Li felt somewhat shocked and startled. This was the strength that truly protected the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy. Although the Academy was considered to be a leviathan in the Northern Heavens continent, it did not mean that there wasn't any power or influence that had the qualifications to challenge it within the Northern Heavens continent. Within the Great Continent, where experts were akin to the numerous clouds in the sky, there were still some strong powers that were observing and eyeing it from the darkness. And this punishment hall was here to scare and keep all those eyeing powers at bay. Upon arrival to this inner region, Mu Chen and Luo Li did not encounter any obstructions. Clearly, the punishment hall had already received the news about their impending arrival. The two of them went through some detailed screening before descending on the giant peak that shot through the distant sky. An incomparably giant hall sat quietly on the top of the giant peak, akin to a ferocious and cold-blooded beast that was quietly stalking its prey, while a heart-palpitating, ferocious aura radiated from it. Before the giant hall stood a black stone square with the jet-black color of it sparkling with traces of cold light. As Mu Chen and Luo Li descended onto the black stone square, they noticed Shen Sangsheng and Li Xiantong, who had arrived earlier than them, standing in the center. The ones in front of them were Lin Zheng, Zhu Qingshan, and Ji Yu Qianyang. As Mu Chen's gaze swept past them, it rested on a space in front of them. There stood a black-clothed middle-aged man with his hands behind his back. This person's face was cold and fierce. As Mu Chen's gaze crossed paths with him, an ice-cold air permeated from him, causing the air to freeze up. While he was standing there, not a single word came from him. Instead, an invisible pressure enveloped over them. Under this pressure, even wild and arrogant people like Shen Sangsheng became docile and meek. Feeling this pressure, Mu Chen shot a startled look at the black-clothed middle-aged man. From the looks of it, this man's strength was rather terrifying. "We're sorry for arriving late." Leading Luo Li and walking forward, Mu Chen cupped his hands and said to the group, "Don't fret about it. It hasn't started yet." With a smile, Lin Jing gestured with his hand. Turning and pointing towards the black-clothed middle-aged man in front of him, he said, "This is the Hall Master of our punishment hall, Hall Master Mo Yu. At the same time, he's also one of the elders on the heavenly seats within our Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy." Hearing Lin Jing's introduction, Mu Chen felt slightly shocked. As of now, he had somewhat of an understanding towards the higher levels within the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy. Within the entire academy, there were 5 seats within the heavenly seated elders. Before, during the Great Freshman Banquet, there was an elder by the name of Xu Qian that seemed to be a heavenly seated elder. The person in front of him was, unexpectedly, another one of the 5 heavenly seated elders. So he was considered one of the peak combat forces of the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy. Mu Chen pays respects to Hall Master Mo Yu. Bowing, Mu Chen cupped his hands and greeted Mo Yu. "So, you're the freshman Mu Chen that defeated Ji Yu Qianyang." A dark light filled the eyes of Hall Master Mo Yu as he stared at Mu Chen. The gaze coming from him was exceedingly sharp and piercing, as if he was trying to see right through Mu Chen. "It was only due to senior brother Ji Yu Qianyang giving way to me. If we continued fighting, I wouldn't have had any strength left to fight." Mu Chen replied while shaking his head. Those words by him were the truth. If he were to continue fighting with Ji Yu Qianyang, Mu Chen would only be able to achieve a draw, at the very most. Wanting to obtain a victory was, more than likely, an impossibility. Regardless of how numerous his hidden cards were, there was still a huge disparity from heavenly transformation stage to heavenly completion stage. "So, this brat knows modesty, huh?" Mo Yu muttered. Smirking, he shot a look at Ji Yu Qianyang, who had a somewhat unnatural look on his face and said, "This brat's usually very arrogant. Being able to obstruct his haughty spirit shows that you have some ability." Hearing those words, Mu Chen could only give an awkward laugh. "Regardless of that, you truly are quite good, since you're able to reach this step with the status of a freshman. After the past few years, you can be considered as the first one to do so. Even Shen Sangsheng wasn't able to do so during his freshman years." Looking at Mu Chen, not the slightest hint of restraint was left with regards to his praise for the latter. Hearing that praise, Shen Sangsheng started to smile. During his freshman year, he had only buried his head and bitterly trained. He had also not participated in the hunting war during that year, let alone achieving such results in a fight. "So, you're Luo Li, right?" Mo Yu's gaze suddenly turned towards Luo Li, who had been standing beside Mu Chen the whole time. In the next instant, his gaze turned from the former to the Luotian sword that was tightly gripped in her jade-like hand. Yes. Luo Li replied while slightly nodding her head. Upon noticing that, Mo Yu's gaze was focused on the Luotian sword in her hand, and Luo Li's eyebrows started to faintly knit together. Ha ha, I've seen before that sword in your father's hands, Mo Yu replied as a slightly complicated look appeared on his face. Upon hearing his reply, everyone was blankly staring in confusion, while Luo Li felt somewhat startled. This Mo Yu actually met with her father before? Looks like the latter also understood her status. Mu Chen also felt slightly startled. However, it was not something especially unexpected. Mo Yu was a heavenly seated elder of the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy, and should have some understanding towards Luo Li's status. However, he never guessed that the former had met Luo Li's father before. During my training years, I've met your father once, by chance. Speaking of which, I also owe him my life. It's a pity that I didn't get the chance to return the favor. Feeling somewhat sad, Mo Yu replied to quell the confusion. Hearing his explanation, Luo Li's expression also turned dim. Naturally, there was nothing that she did not know about the matters that had happened. As the atmosphere turned slightly dark, this became the first time that Lin Zheng and the rest had seen such an expression on Mo Yu's face, causing them to be unable to muster any nice words to say. Fortunately, Mo Yu quickly recovered his usual expression. Gesturing with his hand, he said, "Okay. Since you guys have all arrived, let's prepare to carry on with the spiritual light empowerment." With a wave of his hand, 3 old men walked out from within the Great Hall. These 3 people were elders of the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy. However, it was obvious that their status weren't as high as Mo Yu's. For the 3 of you, these 3 elders will personally help with your spiritual light empowerment. Looking towards Luo Li, Mo Yu said, "Lass, I'll personally help you with your spiritual light empowerment." Upon hearing those words, Lin Zheng and the rest involuntarily uttered a sound from their shocked reactions. Mo Yu was actually going to personally take action to help a student with her spiritual light empowerment? This was truly the first time in these past few years. On the matter of the spiritual light empowerment, the stronger the helping person was, the greater the benefits the recipient would get. Mo Yu was one of the 5 heavenly seated elders in the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy. Within the entire academy, clearly, there were not that many who were stronger than him. Luo Li hesitated a while. Only upon seeing Mu Chen nod his head did she gently nod hers while saying, "Then, I'll have to trouble Hall Master Mo Yu." Gesturing with his hand, Mo Yu replied while sighing, "This can reluctantly be considered as returning a small bit of the favor. Although, this is the only thing I can do." Upon saying those words, he continued to say his order, "You 3 will follow the 3 elders inside." Mu Chen and the other 2 nodded their heads. Just as they were about to move, a dispirited and ancient-sounding voice suddenly slowly resounded within everyone's ears. "Wait." The sudden voice made everyone gawk. Raising their heads, they noticed the figure of an old man sitting on a stone pillar before the giant black hall. Tattered clothing covered the old man's body, while his head was bald, without a single strand of hair, and his eyes always looked dispirited as they drooped down. This made him look as though he had never had a full meal. Upon noticing this bald-headed old man, Mu Chen instantly felt some astonishment. "Isn't this old fellow the person I met in the lightning territory?" The lightning god physique he had trained in was given to him by this bald-headed old man. Besides him, both Shen Sungsheng and Li Xiantong had faces brimming with shock, as they had similarly previously met with this bald-headed old man while in the lightning territory. As he noticed the bald-headed old man, shock had also instantly appeared on Mo Yu's face. Hurriedly, he greeted respectfully, "Lord Northern Sea." The attitude that Mo Yu displayed caused everyone to feel further shock. There was actually someone within the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy that could make Mo Yu show that much respect? What exactly was the origins of the bald-headed old man in front of them? Lord Northern Sea, Shen Sangsheng, and Lin Zheng, as well and the rest, frowned in thought, before a sudden change happened to their faces. Overwhelmed with shock, they spoke out in a low voice, Could this be the divine beast protector of our Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy, the Northern Sea Dragon? Within the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy, other than Dean Taikang, the only person that could make Mo Yu to show so much respect would be the mysterious and seemingly wisp-like Northern Sea Dragon. A tremor went through Mu Chen's mind as he heard those words. He was somewhat in disbelief as he looked at the bald-headed old man, who always seemed so dispirited, and was simply unable to picture the latter as the divine beast that was capable of intimidating the heavens and earth. On the stone pillar, the bald-headed old man waved his hand. In the next instant, he had already appeared in front of Mu Chen and the rest. The seemingly instantaneous movement speed caused the eyes of Mu Chen and the rest to twitch. The bald-headed old man waved his hand towards Mo Yu, before sweeping his gaze towards Mu Chen and the rest, finally resting on the latter. Senior. Seeing that he was being stared at by the old man, Mu Chen instantly felt somewhat unnatural. Ignoring Mu Chen's change in expression, the bald-headed old man shot a slightly weird gaze at him. Only after a while did he slowly spit out some words. From what I've heard, is it true that you've gathered some divine black lightning? This video will end here.